Today I'm going to be using the cafe style tumbler from the Steel Magnolia. I have this cute ice cream cone pattern vinyl. I have found the best way for me is to just roll and trace your cup to make a template. If you are really good in silhouette, they also have a warp feature. I just don't like to deal with all the numbers, so I just roll it and trace it. Now that you have your template all traced, we're just going to loosely cut around it. Just make sure on the bottom part, we're going to leave about a 1-inch overhang so we have something to wrap around the bottom of the rim. Now that your template is all cut out, you can take the backing and fold it back about 1 inch or 2. Apply that section to your cup. Wrap that around while the rest of the backing is still attached to the pattern vinyl, just to make sure everything aligns correctly. And if it does, you can continue to fold back the backing a little bit at a time and press onto your cup until that vinyl lays smooth. Fold the excess back and make a crease to create a straight line, and then just cut off the rest with an X-Acto knife. Now that you have your vinyl applied, just use your cup edging tool around the top and remove that excess vinyl. For the bottom, we are just going to wrap that around the bottom edge. I like to just cut some slits about 1/2 inch to 1 inch apart, and then I'm going to take each one of those slits and just pull really tight until it smoothly wraps around that bottom rim. Cut a circle to cover those raw edges and apply that to the bottom. Add a coat of epoxy, and while that is spinning, we are going to work on the ice cream part of the lid. I'm going to be using Culture Sculpt for the ice cream portion of the lid. This is a really easy product to work with. You just need equal parts of A and B, and you're just going to knead that together until it makes one solid color. I'm going to then apply that straight to the domed lid, and this first part here, we're just going to make sure that we're building up the domed part of the lid and leaving the hole for the straw open. Right here, I'm just taking a dowel and pushing back that Culture Sculpt to make sure that opening is nice and clean. I don't know why I didn't think of this before sculpting the lid, but at this point I decided it was a good idea to remove the silicone ring around the rim of the lid, and then I also took the silicone ring out around the straw hole and then just taped off the lid to protect those threads. Now that you have your lid built up where it's a little bit more rounded and not so much domed, I'm going to mix up some more Culture Sculpt, and then I'm just going to press it flat, or as flat as I can anyways, and place that right over what we just built up on our lid. Press that flattened piece of culture sculpt on and make it fairly smooth. It doesn't have to be perfect. Then take your craft knife and find the hole to the straw, cut that out and the excess around the rim. I just realized I am the biggest idiot who forgot to record or press record on our next step. So hopefully I can explain it well enough that you guys understand. I just took some of that extra culture sculpt and rolled it into a thin snake, and then I just placed that at the base of the ice cream cone right above the rim on the lid. I got these clay tools from the Hippie Crafter, and this box has a little bit of everything you could imagine if you work with clay, so I highly recommend. I chose the metal stabby looking tool, and I'm just going to go around where we added the snake at the base and just blend that in with these back and forth scrubby motions. And then I'm going to go over the entire ice cream part with the same small back and forth scrubby motions to add texture. Once your culture sculpt is all dry, you can go ahead and paint it. I mixed up some neon green from Pop of Color Paints and Breakfast at Tiffany's from Miss Lillian's until I got this nice minty color. And then you're just going to take a paintbrush and you're probably going to have to really dab in that paint and all of that texture until you get full coverage. Once your paint is all dry, I'm going to add some faux chocolate chunks. I got mine on Etsy years ago, so I don't remember the shop or anything, but I'm pretty sure if you could just type in faux chocolate or chocolate sprinkles, I'm sure something similar would pop up. So I'm just going to add a thin layer of UV resin, sprinkle on my chocolate chunks, and then place it under my light for a couple minutes to cure. I really wanted to make sure that those little chocolate chunks didn't go anywhere, so I mixed up some fast setting epoxy, and I'm just going to apply it all over using a cheap brush. Now it's time to add our decal. I chose this really cute chill out SVG that I created, and we are going to place it on our cup a little bit lower than you normally will, so it might look a little bit weird to your eye, but we are going to be adding a drip to this cup, so you don't want the drip to overpower the words. After your decal is applied, go ahead and add enough layers of epoxy until your cup is completely smooth. I'm going to add a little bit of a hot fudge drizzle to the top of my ice cream. I have this acrylic paint in espresso bean. I'm going to add that to a little bit of mixed up epoxy, and then I'm going to use Counterculture's Nice and Thick, which is a thickening agent for your epoxy, and I'm going to add enough to thicken up the epoxy until it slowly flows off the popsicle stick. Now that we have this all mixed up with that nice and thick, It's not going to drip quite as much as it would without it, so we just want to get some on a popsicle stick and kind of spread it and guide it to where you want it to go. Now you're going to take some of that paint we mixed up previously and a little bit of nice and thick and mix that into your epoxy. I personally like to let mine sit for about 40 minutes until it's like a taffy-like consistency before I apply it to my cup. Once your epoxy is thick enough, you're just going to take some on a popsicle stick and apply it just around the rim. I like to just let mine organically drip down the cup, but if it gets to the point where it starts dripping too far onto the cup or too far into your decal, you can tip your cup upside down for like 5 to 10 minutes and then tip it back up until your epoxy is cured enough that the drip stops flowing. Once the epoxy has stopped dripping but is still tacky, I'm going to take some more of those chocolate chunks and just sprinkle them on and slightly tap them down in to that epoxy. And here is our cute cup all finished. I am a mint chocolate chip ice cream lover myself, so this one really speaks to me. And my 6-year-old daughter came home from school, grabbed it, and told me that her mind was blown. So I hope I impressed you guys as much as I impressed my 6-year-old. I appreciate you guys watching, and follow me for more tips and tricks.